Dacia was first founded back in 1968 in Romania. Then in 1999 it was acquired by Renault. Now this opened them up to new platforms, engines, drivetrains, and this spurred on a whole new breed of cars. Then in 2021 Dacia really stepped up their game with this, the new Jogger. I'm Ben Quirk, welcome to Planet Auto. Now this is a completely new vehicle. For a start, it's 7 seats. One of the vehicles that I always used to love from Dacia was the Logan, so I was very sad when I saw it go off sale. I mean, for a start, it was extremely affordable, but it was an estate car, so it suited so many applications. So when this appeared, I thought, wow, and it's gone down a storm. Now the beauty of Dacia is they make things really simple. For example, you can get one engine, this one, the 110 TCe. It's 1 litre, it's turbocharged and it's 3-cylinder. You also get a 6-speed manual, so no auto. No diesels, no hybrids, as yet. But we will see a hybrid Jogger in 2023. Now the beauty of the Jogger is you can pick one up for just over 16,500, and if you want to go for top of the range like our Extreme SE, well that'll cost you just over 18,500. It combines SUV looks and characteristics with the practicality of an estate car and an MPV, meaning it can carry 7 people with ease. And yes, you're not going to get much luggage in with 7 up, but if you go down to 5, then it's got decent boot too. You can have an Essential, an Expression, or the Extreme SE like ours. But interestingly, it's got a decent level of safety across the whole range. Now that's what you call value for money. But that's what Dacia pride themselves on. You get a 3-year warranty, 60,000 miles, and if you want peace of mind, you can extend the warranty up to 6 years. No matter how you look at it, you're going to save money. But it's when you look a little deeper and you see how much you'll save. If you want another type of MPV, well, they're literally double the price. Dacia's design language has come such a long way when you look back at early Sanderos and other models. And it's great to see its evolution on the Jogger. The chunky grille with touches of chrome, the curvature here, the partial clamshell bonnet, and then the wide design cues, which you see in all the lighting. And with low beam, you get LED. High beam is traditional bulbage. It just makes them stand out. Chunky big bumper. You've got some driving lamps down here. I suppose the one thing that you notice about this is it looks off-roady, rugged, and ready for anything. It's a shame there's not a 4-wheel drive. And one thing that Dacia prides himself on is the fact that you have decent safety across the full range. And if you go for a higher trim, you get things like blind spot detection, the reversing camera and front parking sensors. But as standard, you get cruise control, you get rear parking sensors, and AEB. I think ours looks rather smart in the Extreme SE. The black mirror caps, the chunky roof rails, and the terracotta bronze. Now there are a number of colours to choose from. Now one thing is, that is an optional extra. And the strange thing about this vehicle is there's only 2, and the other's a spare wheel. Cladding here, and it comes all the way from the front bumper, and it just wraps round and then continues down the side. The decals here with Extreme Limited Edition. It's also etched onto the wheels. We've got 16-inch black alloys, but you can also get Steelies on, say, a lower trim. Quite a high profile tyre, but that makes it good on-road and off-road. Yes, it's not a green laner, but you can get down some muddy trails. With a ground clearance like that, well, it'll do far more than you'd expect. Just ask Damien from the Mud Life. He's the one that added the characteristic mud. The thing about the Jogger is its proportions are pretty much on point. It looks great from the front and the rear, and even from the side at 4.5 meters long, yeah, the length of a pickup, it still looks, well, good. Well, the Jogger gets to experience some interesting sights. Full deer family, they're normally down the orchard. Now, as you'd expect, dependent on trim, depends on the toys you get. For example, because we've got the Extreme, we get blind spot detection. We also get this modular roof rack as well, and this will carry 80 kilos. And I assume it means bits move around so you can put certain loads on. Mountain bikes, canoes, you name it. Let's take a look inside. Well, the door opens nice and wide, and this is a decent opening too. Yeah, that's one thing you are going to find with the Dacia. Hard plastics, and yeah, they're not the greatest quality, but they're finished nicely, no rough edges, and this is a great addition. And this is a good thing, it does remind me of things like the SE Marbella, but it just adds a bit of character, especially with this chrome trim here. Decent cup holder too. Climbing in, well, absolutely no problem. No grab handle though. It's like a TARDIS. I suppose that's how you have to start this. I mean, for a start, you can just see a multitude of headrests behind you in that mirror. Design language, well, nice and simple, easy. Rotary dials, chargers, 12 volt, and a lovely 6-speed manual. Now we've got an electronic handbrake with hill start assist, but if you go for a lower trim, you'll get an old school handbrake. All this is hard. But this insert, once again, just lightens everything up. Good build quality. It is very, very solid. Nice and robust. Wow, this takes me back. We've got one of these in the 206cc. So you can change the volume mode, etc. on your radio. Some blanks here. Be interesting to see what they are. And you can adjust your headlamp height. Clunk test time. Nice and solid. Well, you can see touches that you've seen in other Dacia models. For example, the shaping around the vents. They're just easy, just functional, nice and simple, and not really dust magnets either. Everything feels pretty damn good. Comfortable cloth seats, and I do like the pattern, especially with this, I suppose it's like a racy stitching. Well, at a glance you can see at 6'3", it's just not a problem. Masses of headroom, decent legroom, and I've even got a footrest. I think this is about 1.3 litres, and it means you've got an armrest, and it's a comfortable driving position. I've got reach and rake in my steering wheel, and an engine start-stop button. There's nothing you don't need, and there's things that you do have that you wouldn't expect to get. For example, our infotainment system. It's got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and get this, they're wireless. You get DAB radio, and if you go for this system, you even get 6 speakers. Now this is about as proper old school as you can get. Switch gear's nice and solid. It's got an eco mode, and you get heated seats in the front. Climate control down here, rotaries with a good feel. Nice quality too. There's something that really appeals about the Jogger, and I think it's its simplicity. Analog clocks, little fuel computer, it tells you things like your economy and your range, but it doesn't go into details that, well, the majority of Dacia drivers aren't really interested in. Glove box, decent size, and so you get keyless entry too. 6 cup holders, storage points pretty much everywhere. One thing that is a bit strange is there's no adjustment in the seat belt, so yeah, I think that again, Annabelle's wick, but for me it's perfectly fine. Let's take a look in the back, or should I say second row. Just look at the way that the sun catches the terracotta bronze. Beautiful. Take a look in the rear. Well, the door opens wide, and as you'd expect, this is a pretty damn big opening. Wow. Even my seat set at a lavish 6'3", I've still got, well, ample legroom. Now the door cards in the rear, well, yeah, they're not quite as good as the front. For a start, it's all solid and hard plastic. Sadly, no armrest. Initial thoughts, it feels like being in an MPV. High roof, I can get my feet under the seats, and even this area here, you sat quite high up. It's not a bad seating position. Now, it does remind me of, say, the Zara Picasso or, say, Renault Scenic. Headroom, well, you can see absolutely no problem. It's nice to see that you've got a centre light too. Grab handle here, and a coat hook. I can see airbags around the vehicle, and ISOFIX points. Comfortable seats. That's the thing, it will carry 7 adults comfortably. The one thing that strikes you about this vehicle every time you sit somewhere and have a look around is, how can it be the price it is? You expect to find lots and lots of like cheap plastic and no solidity, and it isn't. It's it's very well done. Yeah, this might narc me a bit. For example, they do limit my legroom, but I could have it up here, and yeah, alright, I need to be a bit of a contortionist, but it is doable. I think that's the second row done and dusted. let's move to the third row. Now, one thing about this vehicle is these seats have, I think it's 60 variations. That just boggles the mind. Okay, so we've got a little tab up here that I assume we pull up, and then that folds one of them. I then think, there we go. So you then just lean that forward. So you can get in from both sides. That's a nice touch. There's no particular way to do this, just kind of clamber in, I expect. And then if I drop those and then tip this, now I can get in quite easily. My hair does brush ever so slightly if I tilt right back. But sat like this, it's nice and comfortable. Love these. Okay. Make sure I don't have my feet where the clamps go. Now, normally you wouldn't be doing this yourself, but it's just to see you can actually do it. Thank you, Annabelle. I can sit comfortably. My knees are upright a little, but I can get my feet under the seats. And it doesn't encroach on the passenger side either. A 7-seater that works. Well done, Dacia. Cup holders. Looks like there's a light there for the boot, which doubles as a light here. And if you want to get out, they are a bit weighty, so just take care when lifting them. Let's take a look in the boot. No, first let's take a look at this clever design. Now, the thing with an MPV is you don't want chunky lights, so the best way to lay them out is like this, and then it gives you maximum, say, opening for a rear tailgate. I do love this flow. If you want a reversing camera, rear parking sensors, shark fin aerial, front parking sensors, etc., you go for this one. If you're not bothered about, say, front parking sensors, well, why not go for a trim below? Also, on the Extreme SE, this is a different colour. Let's take a look in the boot. So you can release the boot with the key fob, which is here. You can also turn on your lights, unlock, etc., etc. Yeah, you're not going to get much in there. However, if I change the configuration, which is really simple, I literally pull this down. It's got a little red cap so you can see what it is. Or is it up? Maybe up. No, it's down. That folds forward and locks in place. You do the same with this one, and then you pull these. And this then allows you to fold this up. You can remove these two rear seats. And interestingly, they're only around 10 kilos. So this just slots in very easily over here. After a bit of jiggling about, it'll fit in. And then this just pulls out into the trim here. And that is a decent boot. You quite easily get your week shop, month shop even, and a shed load of luggage. Now, you expect a tailgate on this to lift quite high, but you expect it to actually, with all the seats down, it increases to around 2,000 litres. It could even be more than that. Let's take a look under the bonnet. So the release catch is just on the right hand side of the badge, and you just push it left. Not the heaviest bonnet, so that's good. Nice and simple to see where to top up fluids. And welcome behind the wheel of the Dacia Jogger. A 7-seater MPV estate SUV type motor. Now, under the bonnet, we've got a 1 litre 3-cylinder engine, and it's turbocharged. And your first thought is, has this got enough pull to lug about 7 passengers, or say a family with luggage? Well, yes. Pulls 0 to 60 in about 11.5 seconds. But when you're on the turbo, it's pretty quick. It's not what you expect. I thought it'd be this kind of lumbering beast that wallowed and, you know, wobbled all over the shop. But it isn't. I mean, obviously when you start putting 7 people in it, handling will be a little bit compromised, shall we say. But that's only when you're going to be doing sporty driving. The bottom line is, this isn't developed for sporty driving, even though it can actually do it. The steering's quite light, but at the same time, well, I suppose because it's an MPV, it has to be pretty damn manoeuvrable. But when you get to higher speeds, it does weighten up and it gives you good feedback. But the thing you will notice is the faster you go, it will dip and dive a little bit, but that comes with the territory. of having a 7-seater, but generally the steering's pretty good. Oh, it pulls well. If you're on the turbo, the acceleration's very good. However, if you go into the wrong gear and then put your foot down, there's literally nothing until the turbo catches up. But you expect that with a turbocharged 3-cylinder anyway. But the thing that really amazes me is the fact that you can get up to 50 to the gallon. Suspension's comfortable, it eats up potholes. Yeah, you can hear a little bit of road noise, but that's what you have to look at with a vehicle like this. Where do you save money? Well, in refinement. So you will get a little bit of wind noise, you will get tyre noise, especially on our really bad roads. But when you get it on a nice piece of motorway, it does quieten down quite considerably. Handling. Well, it's far better than you'd expect. You expect it to be seriously wallowy. But generally, it keeps itself well composed. It's only when you start really putting your foot down into tight bends that you will notice it dip and dive. If you're driving normally, it just adds to comfort. Brakes, extremely impressive. Gearbox is nice and smooth. I mean, I love a little short shift 6-speed anyway. There's no notchiness, it's a quick shift. You can drop gears at will. But if you keep working the turbo, it'll keep pulling. It does run out of oomph at about 4.5. But to be perfectly frank, as soon as I jumped in it, Annabelle and myself thought, oh, this is a 1.5. It's only when we read the press sheet we thought, wow, it's a 1 litre. And it does a damn good job. Right, we'll start off in second gear and go up the hill. Annabelle, face forwards. Thank you. So yeah, if you then change gear, it'll continue to pull. And obviously 7 up, it's going to affect acceleration. Joining motorways, absolutely no problem. Quite happily cruise along A and B roads, and it's a pleasure. Visibility throughout the cabin's pretty damn good. Same with safety. Got AEB, got blind spot detection, depending on trim, and I've got a decent big windscreen. Same with the rear window. You can see quite easily out the back. But if you go for this, you also get a reversing camera anyway. Safety standard across the range, and that includes things like cruise control. There is no adaptive. And this isn't really going to interest me, but you've got an eco mode too, and start-stop. When we were at the Northern Group of Motoring Writers Car of the Year driving day, the majority of journalists absolutely love this. Now, I've mentioned this before with 3-cylinder engines. Depending on which model it is, depends on how refined they are, especially on tick-over, and with this you can feel a bit of vibration when you're in neutral. But you don't feel it whilst you're driving, so that's what really matters, to be honest. It just feels a bit like Dorothy in this way when you keep her in drive at the lights. It's comfortable, the seats are supportive, and it's what you expect from an MPV, to be honest. And I think the most baffling thing is its price. It's half the price of, say, every other MPV on the market. And it's got a good amount of kit. Perfect family vehicle. And it'll tow 1,200 kilos.